Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to those folks that are attending. We are going to sort of take a few minutes to let folks join us as we get started on our Arkansas Microschools call. As that happens, I will, rather than just sit here in silence, I will hope to inform and entertain you as you join. Again, welcome to the folks that continue to come in. My name is Spencer Watson. I am the Director of Communications for the Reform Alliance. For those of you who have not met us, we are a nonprofit organization here in Arkansas. We work to advocate and inform on all the various options for K-12 education in Arkansas, whether that is public schools, private schools, homeschooling, and the subject of tonight's conversation, microschools. We are grateful for you joining us tonight. We appreciate you being here. Again, as folks continue to join, I'm going to offer one little tip and housekeeping for folks. We want you to be a part of the conversation. We have a great panel who has a lot of great information to present. If you would like to engage and submit questions for that panel, there is a little button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. Feel free to click on that on any time. You should continue to hear what's going on, and you can type in a question there. If you want to direct it to the panel generally, that's fine. If you have a specific panelist, you can see their names here on the screen. If you want to direct it to them based on some point they made or something you'd like to know more about, feel free to just write it like you're talking to them. For example, Spencer, why are you going on and on? We came here to hear about microschools, so please get on with the show. And I agree with that. So rather than take up more time, it looks like most folks, our waiting room has cleared out. I know that we will continue to have folks join us over the next few minutes. So don't worry, none of this will be on the test later. I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce us, the Reform Alliance, your hosts this evening. I told you emergency services would drive by when I was doing the introduction. Sorry about that. I knew that was going to happen before we got started. Anyway, I wanted to welcome you to this evening's panel, let you know about the Q&A button, and then step out of the way for Dr. Dale Smith. He is the Assistant Commissioner for School Choice and Parent Empowerment at the Arkansas Department of Education, and he has been kind enough to agree to keep the show going tonight and keep the conversation going. So with that, Daryl, take it away.
Spencer, thank you for that very kind introduction. Certainly appreciate you all being here tonight. Again, my name is Daryl Smith. I am the fill-in, and for Emmy. Emmy is down; she is sick, so they called in the B team and said, "Please, and so I'm going to do my very best to fill in for the very capable Emmy." If you all don't know about the Reform Alliance, certainly let me, as we're continuing to get a few people in here, let me just continue to encourage you to participate or to sign up for their registration. I'm sure Spencer will tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the call about how you can connect with them. They are a great resource for all things school choice. Obviously, today's topic being microschools. They're just a good resource. They're good people. They got a lot of knowledge. They've been around for a while. They know Arkansas, and they are very passionate about school choice and about making sure that parents and families have the knowledge that they need to make the best choice for their children, which is what we're all here about. I mean, everybody on this panel, and we're going to give you a chance to give them a chance to introduce themselves here in just a second. Care about choice. They want to make sure that every student has a quality choice for education and to make sure that every child, has that ability to have a good fit or a best fit education. Today specifically, we're talking about microschools, but that could be a public school, could be a private school, could be a charter school. But school choice is something that the state of Arkansas is very, very passionate about. We're passionate about parents. We're passionate about empowering parents to make sure that they can help their children succeed and flourish in the best environment possible. So with all that said, and I got the introduction here, let's get on with the show. So I'm going to ask all of our panelists here if you might just give us a little 15-second introduction, and then we'll move on into some more specific questions about microschools tonight. So Annie, you're the first on the screen here for me, so I'm going to let you go ahead and start.
Thanks, Daryl. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Slater. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at KaiPod Learning, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Blessingame, and I am a field coordinator for the states of Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama with the National Microschooling Center. And I am here to support this great work that Arkansas is doing today.
So, Kelly, how about yourself, sir?
My name's Kelly Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Prenda. We help people start microschools. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yes, sir. Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela Roots, and I work at AD with Daryl. And one of my primary roles is to help private schools and micro schools be a contact person for the EFA program.
And two of our Arkansas micro school leaders. Miranda, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Miranda Cavanis. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and we have been operating a micro school turned accredited private school for the last 5 years.
Excellent. And very fortunate you stopped right there to participate with us in our car. So we're very thankful that you are joining us. Arjillian, fill us in. Come up on the anchor here.
All right. I'm Arjillian Gilmer. I am the founder and CEO of Gilmer's Learning Solutions and now the principal educator of Christian Microschooling by Gilmer's Learning Solutions. I am an 11-year Arkansas educator. I'm licensed for administration and 4 through 8. So that's me. Thank you for having me.
Good. Well, again, thank you all for being here. We have assembled an expert panel. You're not going to find a better panel for understanding microschools better than the group that has assembled here. So we are very fortunate and very thankful for all of these men and women to take their time out on a Thursday night to be with us. So again, guys, thank you for your participation. So let me just start off with a really simple question, and this is really for everybody. So just and kind of give me the 30,000 foot definition here. It's like, what is a microschool? I mean, we hear that term a lot, especially now post COVID. When as school choice is becoming bigger and bigger around the country, you hear this term microschool. What is it? So I'll start with our ladies from Arkansas first. Jillian, give us your first definition of what do you think a microschool is?
A micro school is a smaller learning environment where students are able to access education in a way that is more personal and more tailored to them. So think of a quaint setting, think of small class sizes, think of meeting children where they are and growing with them from there. A micro school just is education outside of your typical traditional school model.
Very good. Miranda, you kind of had both experience, started as a micro school, now have moved into a little bit more to a more formal education in a private school. So kind of maybe give us the difference in that and really help us try to explain the micro school from your perspective.
Okay, sure. So just like Arjillian said, a very small setting. So currently we haven't always been in this area, but this was always our vision, was to be like on a farm. So currently we're on 10 acres and we have a house and some metal outbuildings that we've turned classroom and gym. So we have classrooms in what would have been defined as a bedroom, in this house. And but we're able to offer cooking classes. Sometimes we have classes by the pond or out somewhere on that 10 acres. We have several outdoor class settings in the gym, in these other classrooms that these rooms we've turned into classrooms. But I explain it as like the old days one room school buildings. So we have several quote unquote grade levels together where we're teaching family style. So it does look very much homeschool co-op type setting. We teach a lesson family style and then tailor that to their individual learning desires and things that we try to make education fun. So, my own child attends, and 2 years ago, we were struggling getting him engaged in anything and except for theater. So all he wanted to do was go to theater, and he's an actor and a writer and a musician, and that's all he wants to do. Well, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but we still have to figure out how to get your reading and math and all of those things in. And we found a curriculum that actually was entirely Broadway theater that encased his reading and his math and his science and his history and everything to do with Broadway theater. So we just get real creative on how we're going to get all of that information in, and still make it fun and engaging. Our saying is bring the joy. So if we're not bringing the joy, we can't teach. So if we're not joyous, happy, relaxed, and engaged, there's no room for teaching.
Well,
So,
that's awesome.
so yeah, just that really small setting and trying to figure out where the kids are at and just meet them where they're at, get their families engaged and collaborate and volunteer and, yeah.
So very personalized. So kind of thinking from the local level, now let's kind of back out, maybe looking from a national level. So these guys that are looking at it maybe from a little different perspective. So Tiffany, kind of from the National Microschooling Center, give us a little bit of kind of, I guess, the official national definition for microschool. It is on you to give us the definition. Here it is.
So that's a tricky thing because there is no official definition, but I do think that Argelia and Miranda summed it up perfectly, that micro schools provide a small learning community, often with multi-age classes providing personalized learning. And that's what we see, whether the micro school serves homeschoolers or is run as a typical private school or a pod, that those three areas of being intentionally small, multi-age classes, and that personalized learning, we see showing up for micro schools. And we talk about what a micro school is, but we can also talk about what a micro school is not, right? It's usually not rigid or one size fits all. And I think that's important for parents and founders to know as well.
No, that's a great thing. So Kelly and Andy, you guys obviously work with setting up micro schools. You're helping these guys, kind of get the startup, kind of figuring out what that means. So when someone asks you, well, what is a micro school? What does that mean? How do you guys answer them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, basically, I started a micro school in my house with 7 kids. One of them was my own. That was now 8 years ago. Well, let's see, 2018. How long ago was that? 7 years ago. Um, since then, Prenda has helped over 1,000 people start micro schools. So we get to work with people a lot. What I love about them is they all look different. There's going to be things that are specific to each one. Miranda, I love the idea of the Broadway, curriculum. We see that type of creativity show up everywhere. I agree with everything that's been said. Small. What I will say is, having helped a lot of people start micro schools, what you think of as small is probably still too big. So I would just say there's a tendency in people starting micro schools to turn it into something big in their head. And I really do mean as small as possible when you get started. Those 7 kids, we were talking for weeks, maybe a couple months beforehand. And it was a very grassroots community-based thing that we put together. And we were up and running in my house with a very limited amount of time and without all of the, I think people want to go through all the rigmarole, but that can come later. Getting started with your community is something that's a feature of micro schools. You don't have to, work out all of the details of your space and your, conglomeration before you get started.
Sure. All right, Annie, finishes up.
I completely agree with everything that's been said. My personal favorite thing about how we can't really define the word micro school, because it truly does look different, even if you go 30 minutes south or north of a main metro area. But my favorite part is that they have the flexibility where they can provide that personalized support for each child. And that might be that one child thinks that micro school is totally designed around the arts, like Miranda. The child sitting right next to them might be 1 year older than them, working on a completely different curriculum, and they might think it's all about soccer because it's been intentionally designed around the kids' interests. And so you see these archetypes of micro schools pop up nationwide where we're seeing more art focused, sports focused, the theater focused. All of these passions that kids have are being integrated into their day-to-day school at a micro school. And that's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think that to me is what makes a micro school, right? It's that personalization, that it can be anything, right? And which I think, as everybody's kind of heard, there is no definition really for micro school. It's a group of people getting together, homeschoolers for the most part, getting together and forming an organization, loosely or tightly, depending on how it works, right? To meet the needs of each individual child. And I think, how cool could that be? I mean, it truly is the essence of personalized education, right? And that's kind of the way I say it. When I look at a definition, it's personalized education. It's making it fit for every child. And if you got 5 kids, 10 kids, 15 kids, whatever it is, it's like having an individual school for every child. It just happens to be under one roof or one room or whatever it happens to be. So I thank you guys for sharing that. With as more and more countries are considering these education freedom accounts or education savings accounts, they have obviously had to kind of change the game a little bit for school choice. And I think even in the micro school movement, maybe a little bit have made it maybe more of an option for more families than maybe it has been before. I know it's certainly in Arkansas it has, making it, basically making available about almost $7,000 a year per student that they can use towards their educational choices. Well, if I'm doing it in a real small, community, that can do a lot. You can really personalize your education for $7,000. So let me ask you all again, just kind of thinking a little bit either from a national perspective or a local perspective, or as you're setting up these micro schools, maybe in states that have education savings accounts or education freedom accounts, what impact does those resources have on the development of a micro school, the sustainability of a micro school? So just kind of give us your perspective on how these funds, these state funds that are now funding education and non-public education, how have they been benefiting or changing the landscape for micro schools? And Annie, you finished us off last time. We'll let you start this time.
Perfect. I mean, they're completely life-changing for both the parent and for the micro school owner or founder. They make it so that education is so much more accessible. And for the parent, their child now has choices that they couldn't access before. So that in itself is amazing. In terms of creating supply and for the micro school founder side, it allows them to create a sustainable financial model that actually operates as quickly as their first year. Whereas when you're in a state that may not have these resources or availability, you are looking for families that can afford the private tuition rate, which greatly decreases the enrollment opportunity and the sustainability of your program. And the reality is, you can be the best educator in the world and you could have the most incredible micro school, but if it's not sustainable financially, it's just going to be a disappointment later, right? So we want to make sure that with these programs, you're able to support as many micro schools to pop up, because with that option available, more and more families are able to access that service.
Kelly, how about yourself?
Yeah, the people that we work with couldn't afford to go to private school. And I don't know how many people listening are in that camp. I mean, what these programs are doing is it's opening the door for access to micro schools and these types of environments to people that just wouldn't be able to do it, even at low cost. Micro schools tend to be much less expensive than traditional private school, but even so, that's money out of pocket and people pay taxes, and that money's already been spoken for. So it really is, I think Annie used the word game changer. I mean, this is important. I mean, it's critical. And I want to just take a moment to celebrate the great work. You guys probably don't realize in Arkansas, I work with a lot of states. So to see somebody as awesome as Daryl here from the department that's like engaged with you all on the specifics of this and so supportive, Arkansas's got it good right now. And so take advantage of that. This is a great time for micro schools.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that, Arkansas is a great place for school choice right now, especially micro schools. So we'll talk to our local guys here a little bit. So you guys have been in it now. You've received EFA funds. How has it helped you? What difference has it made in the development of your schools? So Arjelian, why don't you start us?
In regards to development, the EFA has been very beneficial, just because in 2022, I initially put my first feeler out to try and get homeschool families so that I could offer support. And I kid you not when I say I had zero bite, none whatsoever. We have a tutoring business that has done numbers. You know, we are award winning, reputable, no problem there, right? And so I figured finances must be the issue as far as developing the micro school, and not on our end, because we came from an already established business, but on the end of families, because families couldn't afford to do micro school tuition. And so having EFA funds available for us and for families has really helped the development of our micro school. We have 9 of our families who have come to us have EFA funding, and they report that they wouldn't be able to join the micro school if those funds were not there for them. So it has allowed us to not only operate the micro school, but to grow the micro school without parents feeling, you know, the pinch of the purse because they're doling out so much money or money that they don't have. Parents are able to join in and engage, just as parents and families donate when they want to, give supplies, but they're not worried about being able to afford it. And then as far as sustaining, we have moved locations. We're in a larger space. We continue to buy equipment. We can meet payroll without having to worry about where this money is coming from.
That's awesome. And it's Miranda, how about what's been your experience?
Yeah, pretty much the same. So, like I said, we started in 2020. And we have a therapy company also. So our therapy company was actually essentially funding the tuition. And so that was a strain, and we had to keep the school really, really small, you know, just in order to make that work. But there were a lot of families who wanted the services and needed the services and just purely could not access them. And, you know, it breaks the mama's heart to know that, you know, their kid's not doing well in the place that they're in, and they want access to another service or another option, and they just simply cannot afford it. And that's kind of where we started as a family. My son was not doing well where he was at. And I decided I was going to pull him to homeschool him. And it meant one of us wasn't going to work. So my husband decided he wasn't going to work for a bit. We started Arrows shortly after that. And so we were able to make it work. But we knew what kind of strain that was and what kind of sacrifice that had to be to make that happen. And a lot of families do that. And so I think the EFA funds have just kind of opened up so many doors for families who were like, there's no way I could ever do this. And they're seeing now that there is a way they can do that, and they're spending more time with their families. And then it's just given us more access to things. When the therapy company was supporting it, it was, you know, super limited, and we got really creative, and we hit yard sales for for things. And I found homeschool co-ops that were selling curriculum, and, you know, we made a lot of our own things. Pinterest is my best friend. So we did a lot of things ourselves. But now we've brought in a dance instructor and a music instructor, and we've brought in 2 certified teachers, and we're able to do a lot more now that we've got EFA funding, and families are seeing that, and the school's grown. And we're actually going to open up another location this coming year, just because there's more and more families that have access to that funding.
That's awesome. And I think, you know, just from our perspective, I think, you know, what it has done in the micro school movement is really provided more options, right? So now what used to be just a co-op and I could kind of do whatever, we could kind of self-fund and those type of things. Now with this additional funding coming in, it just allows you to expand the opportunities and options that you can provide to the students that you're serving, and, you know, and in multiple ways, right? So Tiffany, kind of again, from a national level, kind of looking at the larger landscape, what are some of the benefits of the EFA, ESA type programs have provided for micro schools?
Well, I would agree with what everyone has said, but I also want to add that we find that states who are providing ESAs or EFAs, there's a better wellness of the micro school founders, right? The stress level of, how to meet payroll, how to get creative to make sure kids get everything that they need. Most founders are educators who have, taken this leap, and the emotional labor that comes with serving families and wanting to serve them well, they take that with them. We love our teachers, we love our educators, and they will take on, a lot of that emotional energy. And so, just from that view of wellness of the people who are taking care of the kids and the families, and knowing that they are financially well so that they're able to make decisions and not worry about them, worry about the kids, worry about how they're going to make things work for their own families and for themselves, I think is huge as well. And I don't think we talk about that enough.
Thank you for that. That's a great answer, and yet something I think it gets overlooked a lot is that there is something to that whole well-being and wellness, and just overall health, mental health, right? And from a teacher standpoint and a student standpoint. So that I think that's a great insight. Well, I know we have a lot of people on tonight's call that are really interested in, like, okay, that's all cool. I'm glad you guys created definitions and all that kind of stuff, but what the heck? How do I do? What's step one? Where do I go? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? How does this work? So Kelly, Annie, I mean, you guys, obviously that's what you do, right? You're in that to try to help individuals get the thing started. So without going into super details, kind of give us the start. What are the steps? What do I need to do to get started? I know Kelly mentioned a while ago, so look, I mean, I got a room and 7 kids. We're going to start learning. Let's roll. Right. And maybe it's that simple, with a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance, and let's roll. But maybe you can give us a little bit of guidance, and then maybe we'll get maybe hand out. And I'm looking at some of the questions, and they're a little bit more specific, and I think we can dig into those in just a second. But just from kind of the outline of this is what you need to do to start. Why don't you, let's start there. So Kelly, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Thanks for the question. I mean, this is what we exist to help people with. So the whole point is we want to get you going as soon as possible. I know Tiffany's right to say this can feel treacherous, right? There's fears and anxieties. Everybody I meet has, things on their mind about all of this. They clearly love kids. They're in it for all the right reasons. They want to make a difference in their community. And it's like, okay, what do I do? I will say there's a tendency, and I think I mentioned this earlier, just to spin your wheels a little bit. And so what we're really trying to do is help you get actionable steps right off the bat. So, from the moment you click start a micro school on prenda.com, you would see, here's your checklist, here's the types of things you want to be doing. And it's a little bit around kind of training and preparation, but it really, as quickly as possible, we want you in your community talking to people that you know. That's really step one. So maybe you've done that already. If you're here at this webinar, engage with people. If you are an educator that's worked in a school in the past, reach out to communities that talk to parents that like you and that are like, why are you no longer at the school? It's because I'm starting my own thing, and this is what I'm doing. We also meet people who have a lot of presence in their community through music or arts or some other engagement with kids. Those people make great microschool guides. And so for them to do a similar thing, just reach out, say, this is what I'm doing. And don't forget the parents. Some of our best microschools have started from just a really passionate parent. I think you heard in some of the stories earlier, just on this call, where it started from my kid's not getting what they need. What can we do? Maybe homeschool. I mean, that was me too in 2018. And instead of homeschool, it was like, well, let's do it as a group. Let's do it together with some structure, but still keep it minimal, keep it simple, take those steps. So yeah, I want to see people talking to their community, looking at logistics, down to even, I mean, I'll tell people that say, hey, I can't use my kitchen or whatever. I need a space to do this. I'll say, do your parent meeting, get together and say, okay, we're going to make this thing happen. We need a space. And it could be someone else's kitchen, or it could be somebody has access to a conference room, or somebody's got a church that they know has some classroom space. And within, you'd be surprised. I mean, I've seen this happen within hours where space can materialize. So the key thing is to not do analysis paralysis and sit there and worry about things. You got to get out in your community, raise your hand, say, this is what I want to do. And if you're the type of person, which I know you are because you're here, that loves kids and that's going to be able to contribute, Parents are going to know that. They're going to come to you. So yeah, I would say take those steps, get started talking about this as soon as you possibly can.
Awesome. Andy, what do you want to add to that?
Completely agree. That is the number one sign of a successful founder, that they are willing to put themselves out there right away, even when they don't have all of the answers yet. It's totally okay to go out to parents in your community and say, I have this idea, and this is what I think it's going to look like. And say, but I don't know what I'm going to use for curriculum. I don't know where it's going to be yet. That is actually great, because you will connect with parents or community leaders that will get so inspired by just your passion alone that then they'll help you, and it will become a brainstorming session of, oh, have you heard about this, or have you seen this? And it's really then becomes a locally grown effort, and it's not just you alone creating a micro school in a silo. So again,
So
it's out
a
there.
lot of grassroots, right? I mean, it really is, like I think both of you have mentioned, it's like you just got to start telling people that we're starting something, right? And then just see what happens, right? I mean, certainly if you have we all know that, people are attracted to passion and people are attracted to excellence. And so, if you're out there and you're out, like I said, you're at the soccer game and somebody says, what do you do? It's like, I'm a teacher, but I'm really thinking about starting this micro school. And then all of a sudden that starts a conversation, right? And then the purpose behind you goes, really? What did you say? What is that thing, micro school thing that you were talking about last week? And then all of a sudden that goes to 3 other people. And before long, you got 10 people sitting around, at Starbucks talking about, what's going to happen next week at this new micro school thing that we've created. And so, I think for everybody, the first thing is like you got to want to do it, and you got to have a passion for it. And I think I see the ladies that have done it down here shaking their heads that you just got to start. And I think that's probably sounds like, I think that was Kelly. Don't get stuck in planning as much. Just start, right? Just start movement, and let's see and then see where it goes. And you may be surprised that there's a lot of people probably have been thinking about it that never said anything, but as soon as somebody brought up the idea, all of a sudden, the dam opens, right? And you may be surprised at the number of people who may be interested in that. So now that I've got some people, right? I've got some people interested. Maybe I've got 5, 6, 7 parents in my community. We've been talking about a little bit, maybe where could we meet? Like I said, maybe there's a church, maybe there's an office building, maybe there's an empty space down the road. Maybe there's a back office, somebody they're not using, on certain days or whatever. So let's say we've kind of got that part at least somewhat figured out. We've kind of gone through that. And so now we've got to kind of figure out what to do. And I know there's several questions in here, I'd love to start it, but I'm kind of worried about the days and the time. Like, does it really have to function as a 5 day a week, 8 hour a day type program? Is that how it works, or does it need to function like a school? Do I have to have do I have to teach all the courses? What do I do? How do I get that next step? Like, what does it look like now that I've got my people and I've got my spot? Now what it looks like. So I'm going to start with our local guys, kind of like you just kind of quickly maybe share with a little bit of like, okay, when you first started and you had that interest and everybody was pumped up and we're all excited about what the future holds, what was your next step in that process?
So
So,
for us, it was doing what works for the people involved, right? So maybe it's we're meeting in the evening. Maybe our parents still work and we need to meet for a couple of hours in the evening. I pulled a ton of research, and there's a lot of research out there that tells me that you can get a lot of your education in about 2 hours a day. So it's really, if you think about public school, it's a lot of transitions. It's walking from this class to that class. It's a lot of the teacher getting everybody settled down and ready to work and da 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 da. So when you figure all that in, and lunch and extracurriculars and all of that, your main core subjects you're going to get that done in about 2 hours a day. So, I mean, for us to get started is like, how do we get at least some math and English in there, and then work in some of those other core subjects like science and history? And then what else is important to our kids? So what do our kids like? What's important to our families? Are we looking? So I have a lot of special needs kids. So for my kids, We need to do a lot of life skills and a lot of independent living skills. And how can I work, core subjects into that? And again, how do I make it fun? So I just started planning a curriculum that worked for us. And I'll give Kelly a shout out. When we first got started, it was Brenda, and it was turnkey. It was like, here's what you need to do. And it was easy. So we were able to just kind of follow those step by steps. Full transparency. Sorry, Kelly, we're not using Brenda anymore. But it got to that point where, okay, I can structure this for what's best for my kids now that I know what I'm doing. And so it just kind of transitioned like that for us. But, in the very beginning, there are lots of options out there that you can pick, and it really just walks you step by step. If one, sorry, I don't remember who said it. It might have been you or Jillian, but whoever said, if you just love kids and you have a passion for this, you can do this. God made you an educator by just in pure design. And so you can do this. And if you love your child and you want them to succeed and grow, get a group of people together and just get started.
That's awesome. Arjelian, how about your perspective?
So I definitely would say once you have the engagement of some families, you want to poll your families. While micro school is something that alleviates a lot of undue stress for the educator, we still want to be mindful of what our families need and what they want. And so for me, in getting started, the first thing I did was poll my families. What are you looking for? Do you want 3 days? Do you want 4 days? Do you want 4 days and a virtual, 3 and a virtual? What's going to work for you? Because we are trying to tailor this experience for the whole family. Oftentimes, when a family is interested in a micro school, it is because they are looking for flexibility and the personalization of education. So poll your families. Whenever we develop a new product as a business owner, when we develop a new service, it is 1000% essential to solve a problem. So make sure that whatever your school is, whatever your micro school is, it's something that you have created to solve a problem for your families, and then go from there.
That's excellent advice. I mean, obviously the people that are with you are that, that have that same perspective or that mindset. Obviously they have a need, right? They're not in the pub. They've chosen homeschool for a reason, and sometimes for various reasons. And I guess to your point is, how can we design a school to meet those needs? And that's really impressive. I do have a question. I saw a couple of these are some of these questions that have come up, and knowing that most parents work, and that when you talk about homeschool, that just kind of flips out a lot of people, because it's like, well, I can't homeschool. I don't. What am I going to do with my kids? Right? I mean, I got to go to work. I got to pay the bills, and EFA or no EFA, I still got to go. I still got to go to work because they're not paying me that much. So, do you find that it's better or more beneficial, or maybe it doesn't matter at all, or it goes back to Arjelian's point, it just kind of depends on the group that you got, to have that, 5 day a week, 8 to 3, 8 to 4 type setup, even though it can be designed any way you want it to be. We talked about flexibility, and we've talked about different things you can do, and all the, whether it's a farm and outside, or, soccer camp, or whatever it happens to be, or Broadway, that, we can, the flexibilities there. But what about that, just meeting the needs of the parent and saying, look, I gotta put my kids somewhere, and I don't know that I'm gonna leave them at home, right? Because I don't know that I trust them at home by themselves if I'm not there. So do you see that being an important part of the setup, and some of the way that you get things started, or how does that work? So I'm gonna let our Kelly and Annie kind of start that, and then anybody else that wants to jump in there, feel free to add. So guys, go ahead and kind of give us your take on this, the time that's involved there.
Yeah, in all of the founders that we're supporting and have supported, what we've seen, the most successful founders offer options to parents. They're not locking them into, you must attend 5 days a week, 8 to 3. They may be open 5 days a week, and a parent could enroll in a 5-day plan. Maybe they offer flexible hours where they don't have to be there right at 8. That's really a beauty of a micro school. Parents love not having to be there right at 8. But there are a lot of homeschool families that want to continue that relationship with their child, where they also may want the 2-day plan or the 3-day plan. So our most successful founders in our partner network tend to offer at least 2 to 3 options for families. It does naturally become a little bit of a Tetris game with your enrollment and what you can support on the day-to-day. As you can imagine, if you have a couple 2-day enrollments, then 3-day and 5-day, but you're also then increasing the number of students that you can support. So you're making even a bigger impact in your community.
Yeah, and I'll kind of go in the opposite direction. I mean, I see that too. I think it's important at some point to customize and try to tailor. It's also a lot to pay attention to. As a brand new person, I just say you want minimal complexity. I mean, we actually push each of our guides through our like software setup process as you're getting started with your micro school. It's question 1, when are you going to meet? And you sort of put together your course schedule. Now you can make adaptations around that, and people do. But, if you could pick something like 20 hours a week, 24 hours a week, that tends to be good. There are families that need more childcare than that, and Daryl's getting to that. What I would do is, I think Arjillian said it best, like listen to these people. These are your customers. This is your community. So you pay attention and you work something out. And then this is going to sound a little grotesque because I know none of us are in this for the money, right? We're here because we love kids, but make sure you don't undervalue yourself. I've just seen people that put themselves out there and then end up, if you calculate it, it's like $12 an hour or something that they're getting paid. So make sure if you are doing lots of hours, like ask for money on that, even if it's more than the 7,000 that they get from the state. Like you're offering a huge service there. So I would just say don't undervalue yourself. The second question we ask is that money, right? So we allow each guide to set their own fee, and that's, I think, really important to it. Each micro school, you could be some sort of, I don't know, like wizard expert that people are willing to pay a lot for, or you could say, I'm really trying to serve communities that need it the most, and it's up to you in doing that. So just trying to help you make those types of decisions as you get started, and with that reminder to be listening to your community and not undervaluing yourself.
Anybody else want to add to the discussion here? Tiffany, you've been kind of quiet there, so we'll
Yeah, I definitely think that there is a blend between both what Kelly and Annie said. That, as a founder, and I'm also a founder of a micro school in Metro Atlanta. And it starts with you knowing what you're able to commit to and what are all those options that you could possibly do. Then begin to design with your community on what that could look like. Because, they could choose something that is going to be very difficult for you to do on your own. And then now you need to bring in someone else, and that's someone else to pay, but you don't have the number of kids that you need right now to do that. And so making sure that you start with the options that you are able to commit to, and then begin to share that with families and design with them that way.
That's great advice. So I'm going to reframe the question for our local ladies here. So tell me just a little bit. So what type of schedule do you guys work off of? So Arjillian, tell us a little bit about your schedule. How does that work for you all?
Well, for 24-25, we have been a 3-day, Tuesday through Thursday. And because when we started, Arkansas did not have rules for micro school, we had to work around the child care center or not child care center. And so our instruction right now is only a 5-hour day because we are not a child care center. And so 3 days, Tuesday through Thursday, and our drop off is after your traditional school drop off, so that when you have families who have children in multiple settings, They don't have to dash across town, get a speeding ticket. You know, there's flexibility there, time for transition. And our pickup is a little bit before traditional dismissal time so that parents can maneuver in traffic in the Metro Little Rock area. For next school year, we will be 3-day, Tuesday through Thursday, with a 4th day being Friday optional, so that families who do need that childcare, because let's just be honest, if we're thinking about opening a micro school, and if you've been an educator, we do know that lots of parents rely on school settings for childcare services. I know that's not what we went to school for, but that is a need that we meet. And so that 4th day will be added on. And so that's something to look at, you know, even if I'm not available 5 days a week or 4 days a week, do I have staff who are available and who can take these kids in and take care of them so that families can have their needs met?
Excellent. Miranda, how about you guys? What kind of schedule are you guys running?
So we offer therapies as well. So through the week or through the school year, we are 7:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week. Our school time is 9 to 3. So if they come before or after, then there's additional childcare fees associated with that, unless they're in a scheduled therapy session. So we try to schedule therapies before or after to kind of help with that too. We don't have a ton of parents that take advantage of that, but we have some that really rely on it. Most of our families really like that start later, end earlier. We also give the flexible options like Annie suggested, where they can pick 2 days, 3 days, all 5 days, whatnot. And then we run a summer program camp, which isn't a part of our school, but they also have a summer program camp that they can come to as well. And that's 4 days a week. So we continue a curriculum-esque type of camp program through the summer for the families that want those services. So for families that work full time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, I think as people that are on the call will see, micro schools can be whatever they need to be, right? I mean, and that again, that's the beauty of a micro school, like the flexible scheduling, the flexible curriculum, the types of things that you're doing, the types of curriculum that you're using, the size, the amount, where you meet, all of that stuff is, is important. We've got just about 13 or 14 minutes here left in this hour. And so I certainly want to answer a couple of questions. I think we're getting to a lot of them, but and we've answered a lot of them. But I want to give Kelly and Annie just a couple of seconds for the commercial, right? So a little bit about, just tell us a little bit about, I mean, the services that you offer, because we talked about, yeah, it's passion. Yes, you got to get there, and hey, just go get started. And I think everybody's going to go, yeah, that's great. But there is some business side of things, right? There is some structure that has to happen, and I think there's we have a lot of educators who are great teachers, but may not have, like, I don't know how to start a business, and this is a business to a certain extent, right? I mean, you're paying people, and you're having to figure out what to charge and how much to charge. As to Kelly's point, don't want to charge too much, but certainly don't want to charge not enough, and make sure that it's worth my time to do this. So just give me the kind of the basics of how what services do you guys offer? So if I'm a micro school guy, I've got it, I've got people, I kind of think I've got a space, or maybe I don't, and I just need somebody to talk to. What do you guys offer me as a potential founder to get me started so that I'm start off with the best, so I get the best start possible, and that would also allow me to sustain my school? Because the worst thing we could do, right, is start a year and then it doesn't work, and because I don't have all the structural pieces in place, and then it's not good for me, it's not good for those kids that to bounce them around a little bit. So you want that long-term viability and sustainability. So how do I get that? How do you help me do that? So either one of you guys just start and just kind of give us, again, just tell us what you offer to prospective founders.
Annie, you want to go first this time?
Sure, go first. So KaiPod helps in a variety of ways. We basically have three main categories in how we support microschools and microschool founders. The first is our Catalyst program that you can think of as like an incubator program where founders work with us to open their own microschool. They're the full owner. It's their whole small business that they're opening. And we really believe in you're going to open up your vision of a microschool. We might have recommendations for you, but at the end of the day, we're supporting opening up what you want to open in your community. So all of our founders go through an entire course that teaches them everything from how do you open an LLC? Should you be a nonprofit or a for-profit? Location selection, zoning, compliance, regulation, all of the things that you have to think about. And we want to support you with all of those components that you may not be an expert in right now. Insurance, what should your enrollment form look like? What should your handbook look like? What should your attendance policies or your refund or your cancellation policies look like? All of these things we can take off your plate for you. And that allows you the time to connect with families, connect with your kids, and focus on the things that you're passionate about, like personalized learning, finding some curriculum. So our team supports in that way. We also support existing microschools in our partner network, so they don't have to go through our Catalyst program to work with us. We support founders in over 24 states, so we have a lot of experience with different models and provide as needed support based on what that individual founder needs. And then finally, we have a software platform called Newton that is an all-in-one microschool designed management system. So taking attendance, sending invoices and tuition payments out, communicating with your families via like a DM system, and individualized learning plans are all encompassed in that system as well. So we're doing a lot, just like Kelly at Prenda is, and we're hoping that we can create a lot more microschools so there's more choices.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just to extend that, so Prenda does those things too, the business side of running a micro school. I mean, even the simple stuff like how do you actually get the money from the state and like invoice the parents and handling all of that. Keeping track of, I'm trying to think, oh, marketing your micro school is a big one. I've seen some of these questions come in. It's like, I want a micro school. So Prenda, maintains a list of micro schools that are out there and you can go find micro schools. So parent, like helping facilitate those connections. In addition to that, and I think this is a place where Annie, you'd agree we differ. Prenda has a strong point of view in terms of student-centered learning and kind of an approach and philosophy to how to do a micro school. We've operationalized that into our platform. So not just run the business of a micro school, but actually run the learning of a micro school. Miranda kind of said it a minute ago. Our whole goal is to take the barriers down as far as we can and just make it easy for somebody that's getting started. You don't have to use everything we give them. I mean, a lot of people customize it and make it yours. That's what we want, but we want to definitely not have you stuck reinventing the wheel right at the beginning. So the goal is to give you a package that works. You can deliver a micro school experience that will, blow kids' minds and have everybody loving learning right off the bat, and then you continue to grow from there.
Those are excellent answers. And so as we kind of wrap up here these last 7 or 8 minutes, I know there's a lot of EFA questions and I want to get to those real quick. Just kind of answer some of that. How does this whole finance thing work with the state and all that? And so we certainly want to make sure that we give you those answers. But what I hope people have heard and seen over these last 45, 50 minutes is that number one, micro schools can be whatever you want them to be, right? They are whatever you can think up and whatever you can dream of. They are personalized. Um, they are designed to meet the needs of every child. It's we talk about school choice. It is the ultimate school choice option because it's choice within choice, right? It's like I'm choosing to be homeschool, and then I'm choosing a micro school, and then I'm choosing the educational model within the micro school. So it's choice, 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 choice. It's just all choice. And that's the beauty of micro schools, right? Is to be able to allow that, and it can be designed however you want and wherever you want. And that's another beauty is that it doesn't have to be in a metro Little Rock or a metro Atlanta. I mean, it can be out in the Delta of Arkansas, right? And it does, and then there's no size limit. It could be 2, it could be 10, it could be 15, it could be 30. Right. It's just how big can you make it based on the staffing and the interest in your communities. And and the questions, even the questions about just the nuts and bolts. I mean, I think as you've seen, we've got some experts. There are some people who are there to help you get things started and to that are passionate about micro schools and that will sit down with you and answer those what you might think is the simplest, silliest question about how do I start and what do I do? And I know this is, there, first of all, there are no silly questions, but secondly, you're right. We understand. I mean, people understand, these guys understand that business may not be your thing. And you got in this thing to teach, and that's what you want to do, and that's what you're really good at. And you need that extra support. And there's some people here that will help that and help support you and help walk along that journey with you until you're ready to go. I mean, like I think you heard Miranda say, "Hey, Kelly, we're not using you." Hey, she's ready, right? She's, she has another set of wings, and now she's taken off into a different level, into a different thing. And so it's not like you have to hang out with whatever forever. It's like maybe this is where you start, and then you kind of get your legs under you, and then all of a sudden you're ready to dream different and to dream bigger and to make it look differently, and that's awesome. And that's what you want to do. But what I guess the point of all that is to say that use the resources that are here to get started. Because I know there's a lot of questions. Well, how do I pay payroll, and how do I get a business? Well, this is probably not the forum to answer some of those really specific questions, but we've got the people on this forum, on this webinar, who can help you answer those questions. And so I would just kind of direct you to them. Spencer, in just a second, is going to tell you how you can get receive the recording so you can see this again. Certainly, Spencer, I'm assuming, and you again, I'm not stealing your thunder here, but I'm sure that you're going to tell them how they can contact Kelly and Annie at KaiPod and Prinda, and where that contact information would be, so that if they're interested in asking questions or getting started, how they can contact them. And so I'm sure you're going to give them all that information here in just a second. But before I turn it back over to Spencer, let me just give you a very quick EFA 101 here, right? So education freedom accounts are paid out quarterly, but they basically allow you $6,864 next year, right, for education. And all the stuff that we're talking about here is education. The where, the how, the when, all of that. So every student that you teach has basically an account that will have eventually, after a year, $6,864 in it, right? Now we pay to parents on a quarterly basis. We pay it at the end of August, we pay it in October, we pay it in February, and we pay it in April. So you got to kind of think about your cash flow a little bit. And again, these guys can help you figure that out, how to manage that, and how to go through it, how to pay your teachers, and make sure you get a good even cash flow all the way through, so that you're not having to necessarily take money out of your pocket to beat payroll, those kind of things. And so basically what happens is you can bill every month or quarterly or however you choose to bill. You can bill weekly. It's up to you and how to just to making sure it all fits right. But you will bill your parents or invoice your parents for whatever services you're providing, whether it's a 5-day, 2-day, 1-day, virtual, non-virtual, whatever the options are. You're going to bill your parents accordingly. Right. And again, these guys can help you determine what that structure needs to look like and what you should, kind of what you need to charge to maintain viability and sustainability. Once you do that, you're going to send an invoice to your parents. They're going to send the invoice, put it up into Class Wallet, which happens to be the way that we disperse funds. That's all going to happen. We're going to take a peek at it, and then we're going to click OK, and then we're going to pay your micro school. That's all there is to it. And that's the only catch to it. There's no strings. You don't have to do anything. The only thing that we're going to ask you is at one time a year that you'll take some kind of a norm reference test, which most of these groups do anyway. You're going to take some kind of a norm reference test, and you're going to send us back the data. And you're going to send us back some reading and some math scores, so that we can kind of just see how the program's operating as a whole in the state, and to help ensure that your students are getting the education that they need. Not that we're trying to kick anybody out. We're not going to look at a score and say, if you don't meet a certain score, you're out of here. That's not what we do. That's not what the program's about. The program's about making sure that every kid has a good quality education that's growing, right? And then they're growing in their educational opportunities, and we're closing gaps, and we're helping kids succeed and flourish. So that's the only string that's attached to this, right? Is that you find the right educational option You as a parent say, I want to pay this person to provide the services for my child. That person, make sure that we've got them on our list as an approved provider, and then we will pay them on your behalf for the services that they're providing for your child. And that's it. And that, again, that it's a simple process, and people go, it's just too good to be true. And it may be, but it's what we got. We got a governor who believes in education. We got a governor who believes in parental empowerment. We got a government that says, a governor who says, I want to make sure that every child in Arkansas has the access and opportunity to a high quality education. And that's what we're trying to provide for you. And so I just would just continue to just encourage you to, if this is something that, that right now you're thinking it's kind of getting you pumped up a little bit, like, we can do that. I think I can do this. Call these guys, get some advice from them, pick their brains. And I promise you, probably when you leave that conversation, you're probably more pumped up than you are right now, because they're going to help you and they're going to give you the confidence that you need to do what you need to do, what you already want to do, what's already kind of inside of you. They're just going to give you that confidence to move forward. And so, let me just encourage you to reach out to the experts. Certainly, you can always call us, at the department. We're here to help. We're here to help resource you. We may point you back to these guys, but we're here to help support you along the way. Make sure that the money gets where it needs to, and that you're set up properly to receive funds, and make sure all that works out. Angela does a phenomenal job with that, and she's going to be the one that will help guide and direct you through that piece of the puzzle. What I guess I'm saying is that we've got you covered, right? If you want to do it, we got you covered, and we're not going to let you fail. All right. If you're going to get in there and you're willing to put your time in there, and you're willing to do what it takes to create the organizational structure, I can promise you we're not going to let you fail. And so, with all that said, let me just conclude my part by saying thank you to Reform Alliance for allowing me to fill in today. Certainly appreciate that opportunity. And again, if you haven't heard of the Reform Alliance, or you haven't really taken advantage of some of their resources, let me encourage you also then to get involved with them. Get on their newsletter list. Find out what's going on around town. They have stuff going on all the time, and you can really learn a lot from these guys. And they're a good resource too to ask questions to. And if they don't know, they can certainly point you in the right direction, make sure that you get where you go, where you need to go. So, with all of that said, Spencer, I'm turning it back over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Daryl, and thank you for filling in. It was a very late breaking development, and we appreciate you moderating the panel tonight. Let me thank all of our panelists on behalf of the Reform Alliance for joining us tonight, and thank all of our attendees. Just a few quick programming notes. I saw in the questions a number of folks asked, how do I find a microschool? I do want to note that on our website, thereformalliance.org, we do have a page for microschools, which includes a voluntary registry. So schools that want to share their information can fill out a form, and then parents who want to review that information can see it in a spreadsheet. It includes things like contacts and what grade levels they serve, and of course where they are. The key to microschools is they are local, so you can find those located near you. I also want to let folks know that we did record the webinar tonight. We will post that as soon as I can get it processed and posted. So you will be able to review this recording. Look for that on the Reform Alliance YouTube, or we'll link it on social media channels too. So please do visit our website. Follow us on social media. We do try to post updates and news all the time, including about microschools. We have a lot more planned for microschools. I would take this moment to announce that we do plan to do another call like this. I don't know if it'll be these same folks. We'll talk to them and see if they want to do it again. But we're looking at another call along these lines within the next month or two. And we are in conversations of potentially starting a recurring call specifically for microschool operators to just discuss different issues, make it, perhaps each one, something like quarterly, each one would be a topical conversation, or we might invite a specific guest to present, here's my story, here's what I did. Still taking shape. We're not sure what is there yet, but please do get in contact with us if you'd like to be part of those things. I will follow up with an email to all of our participants to include both the link to this recording when it's online and a number of other resources, a link to our registry. I know we've had questions about funding. I will try to include some links to different grant opportunities. I know that that's of interest to folks that are looking for funding beyond the operational costs in the EFA. And I also have a couple handy things, an organization that offers free legal, not advice, but support for education entrepreneurs, and a handy little checklist for getting started, things you might want to be aware of and think about, some of the things that were mentioned tonight: insurance, zoning codes, can I open in this facility, things like that. So I'll include those links in a follow-up email. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank the panel, thank Daryl, thank our guests. And with that, we will bring things to one last note. If you have questions for me, I do want to share my email. It's Spencer. You can see my name on the screen, SPENCER at thereformalliance.org. You will get an email from me, so you will have it, but I just wanted to record it. If you've got questions for the panel, feel free to send it to me, and I will either pass them along or connect you, but feel free to contact me. And with that, I will bring things to a close tonight with one last thank you. We appreciate your time. Sorry we ran a little bit over, but thank you for being here. We appreciate your interest, and we want to support you in support Microschools in Arkansas. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.